We start with an arrest in the UK that's rocked the royal family. Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, former prince and younger brother of King Charles III, has left police detention after being taken into custody earlier today. Police say the former royal has been, quote, released under investigation. He's suspected of passing sensitive documents to the late sex offender, Jeffrey Epstein.
Once a prince, now an ostracized member of the British royal family, Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor is the first in the monarchy's modern history to be arrested. British police are investigating allegations that he was passing on confidential government documents to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein back in 2010 when he was serving as the UK Special Trade Envoy. Prime Minister Keir Starmer stated that laws must apply regardless of status.
One of the core principles in our system is that everybody is equal under the law and nobody is above the law. And it is really important that that is applied across the board.
Buckingham Palace released a statement from King Charles.
What now follows is the full, fair and proper process by which this issue is investigated. In this, as I have said before, they have our full and wholehearted support and cooperation.
A recent release of millions of documents related to the Epstein files put Andrew back in the spotlight, despite pictures showing him in compromising positions with what many believe are some of Epstein's sex trafficking victims. Andrew Mountbatten has repeatedly denied any wrongdoing. His most outspoken accuser, Virginia Jeffrey, claimed that Andrew assaulted her on 3 occasions when she was just 17 years old. Jeffrey committed suicide last year. Her family have released a statement thanking the British police. But many Britons are skeptical that justice in Andrew's case will be served.
I think it's only because the public's probably put pressure on, and the media's put pressure on to have him questioned. But he'll probably disappear to some country where he won't be extradited.
I thought he'd go into hiding and get away with it. Yeah, so no, that's all I've got to say really. I'm pleased.
Honestly, nothing's going to happen to him really if you think about it. You know, he's fully protected by his family. I don't want to say too much into it, but hopefully he gets what he deserves.
Concerns about Mountbatten-Windsor's links to the late financier have dogged the royal family for more than a decade. And this unprecedented arrest of the king's brother is likely to put more pressure on the crown.
And let's bring in Matthew Sheffield. He's a journalist and former Republican media consultant, and he's also a podcast host. Thank you very much for joining us.
It's good to be here, Aaron.
So, Matthew, today was another example of real consequences here in Europe from the Epstein files, yet we've seen precious little in the United States. Why is that exactly?
Well, I do want to clarify that there have been consequences for some people in the United States. So, for instance, there was a Yale computer science professor named David Sheldon Turner who was recently suspended there for engaging in emails with Jeffrey Epstein. And also there's a Harvard professor named Lawrence Summers who was also suspended for his close relationship. And an attorney with the finance company Goldman Sachs that was forced to resign after being very closely friendly to her, what she called Uncle Jeffrey. So there have been consequences for some people, but notably the people that have not experienced consequences are all people connected to Donald Trump and the Republican Party. And that's the big difference. And it is starting to rankle some of the right-wing media and some of the fans of Donald Trump as well. And but they're not doing it so much against Trump, but against some of the other figures in his orbit.
So there has been some blowback at least, but let's stay with the president for a second. Trump said that former Prince Andrew's arrest was, quote, very sad. But are Americans in general, are the voting population really paying attention to what's happening here in Europe regarding the Epstein files?
I think the arrest of former Prince Andrew definitely is going to put a pin in it for many Americans who might not have been following the Epstein files release, because this guy is definitely an extremely famous person even to people in other countries, and the fact that he is the first member of the British royal family to be arrested for an alleged crime, that's definitely going to put a lot of people's attention onto these matters, and notably have other people like the Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, who lied and had been exposed now repeatedly for lying about his close relationship with Epstein, including being his business partner. They seem to be getting away with it if they're directly connected and they work for Trump currently.
Now, you are a former Republican media consultant. How exactly have conservative media outlets responded to these European names surfacing in the Epstein files?
Well, they definitely have been covering the arrest of former Prince Andrew to some extent. And what is notable is that you now are, so generally speaking, right-wing media outlets tend to censor information that is critical of Republican leaders. That's the main response that they have to negative information, so they just don't tell their audience at all about it. But with regard to some people that are connected to Trump, and one of them, the biggest example is Steve Bannon, is a former White House chief of staff and campaign advisor. You are seeing some right-wing media figures start to attack the very, very close relationship that he had with Epstein, that he was emailing and phone calling with him up until the very day that he was arrested. And some people are now finally starting to be concerned about that. And there are some concerns that people, especially on the more grassroots base voter side, that they've been very upset at Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, for lying repeatedly and for trying to block the release of files. And as she admitted herself, that she has not prosecuted anyone who has been an Epstein accomplice.
All right, that was Matthew Sheffield. As always, thank you for your insights on this historic day.
Thank you.